Dr. Henry is a doctor whose journey of dedication and sacrifice during a deadly pandemic not only saved lives but also redefined what it means to be a true hero. Amidst the chaos of an overwhelmed hospital and the despair of critically ill patients, Dr. Henry faces an impossible choice: continue saving strangers or rush home to save his own family. This is a story that goes far beyond hospital corridors. It's about love, duty, and the incredible ability of the human spirit to adapt and triumph, even in the most challenging circumstances. Dr. Henry was known throughout the hospital for his unwavering dedication and tireless work ethic. From the moment he donned his white coat each morning, his sole focus was on the well-being of his patients. He walked the bustling halls of the hospital with a purpose, always ready to lend a helping hand, offer a comforting word, or make a crucial decision in the nick of time. Medicine wasn't just a job for Dr. Henry. It was his calling. He had dreamed of becoming a doctor since he was a child, inspired by his own experiences with illness and the compassionate care he had received. Now, years later, he had become a pillar of strength and hope for his patients and colleagues alike. Long hours and sleepless nights were a small price to pay for the satisfaction of saving lives. His dedication often meant missing out on family dinners, school events, and quiet moments with his wife, Laura. She understood his passion, though it sometimes left her feeling like a single parent to their two young children. Despite the challenges, Laura supported Henry's mission wholeheartedly, knowing that he was making a difference in countless lives. Every morning, Henry arrived at the hospital before sunrise, armed with coffee and determination. He made his rounds, checking on each patient with meticulous care. He took the time to listen to their fears and concerns, providing reassurance and explaining their treatment plans in a way they could understand. His patients trusted him implicitly, finding solace in his calm demeanor and confident expertise. One particularly memorable case was that of Mrs. Thompson, an elderly woman with a complex array of health issues. Other doctors had written her off, but Dr. Henry saw potential for recovery. He spent countless hours researching and consulting with specialists, crafting a treatment plan that eventually restored her health. Mrs. Thompson and her family were eternally grateful, and the bond they formed with Dr. Henry was a testament to his impact. However, this level of commitment came with a cost. Henry often found himself torn between his responsibilities at the hospital and his duties as a husband and father. He missed his daughter's ballet recitals and his son's soccer games, leaving him with a pang of guilt that he carried silently. Laura was his rock, holding the family together with grace and understanding, but even she sometimes wondered how long they could sustain this demanding lifestyle. Dr. Henry's colleagues admired his relentless dedication, but they also worried about him. "Henry, you need to take care of yourself too," his close friend and fellow doctor, Sarah, would often remind him. He would nod, promising to find balance, but the needs of his patients always seemed to take precedence. Then came the day that would test his commitment like never before. A deadly new strain of flu swept through the city, overwhelming the hospital and its staff. Dr. Henry threw himself into the fight, working around the clock to treat the influx of critically ill patients. The situation was dire, and the weight of his responsibility pressed heavily on his shoulders. Little did he know, this crisis would soon hit even closer to home, forcing him to confront the toughest decisions of his life. As the flu spread and the hospital reached its breaking point, Dr. Henry's unwavering dedication would be both his greatest strength and his most profound challenge. The hospital was already a hive of activity, but when the deadly new strain of flu hit, it became a battleground. Dr. Henry found himself at the epicenter of a crisis that seemed to escalate by the hour. Patients poured in, overwhelmed with severe symptoms that quickly filled every available bed. The emergency room was in chaos, the staff stretched to their limits. Dr. Henry moved through the corridors with a sense of urgency, his mind racing to devise the best strategies to manage the influx. He coordinated with the hospital administration, ensuring that every resource was utilized efficiently. Isolation wards were set up, and makeshift treatment areas were created to accommodate the growing number of patients. His days blurred into nights as he worked tirelessly, barely stopping to eat or rest. The hospital was filled with the sound of beeping monitors, the rustle of protective gear, and the murmurs of worried families. The air was thick with the scent of disinfectant and the palpable tension of a situation spiraling out of control. Dr. Henry's dedication was evident in every interaction. He listened to the frantic concerns of patients, offering reassurances despite his own mounting exhaustion. He supervised the administration of treatments, adjusted ventilator settings, and made quick decisions that could mean the difference between life and death. His colleagues rallied around him, inspired by his unwavering commitment. Dr. Sarah, his close friend, took charge of coordinating the nursing staff, ensuring that everyone was equipped and supported. Together, they formed a formidable team, their shared mission clear: save as many lives as possible. The hospital corridors were lined with patients on gurneys, waiting for care. Dr. Henry stopped at each one, his mind a whirlwind of medical knowledge and compassion. He remembered the words of his mentors, the importance of not just treating the illness, but also caring for the person. His touch was gentle, his voice steady, even as the weight of the crisis bore down on him. In the midst of this chaos, a phone call shattered his focus. It was Laura, his wife, her voice tinged with fear. "Henry, the kids are sick. They have high fevers and are very weak." His heart sank. The deadly flu had reached his home. Torn between his duties at the hospital and his need to be with his family, Dr. Henry faced an agonizing decision. For a brief moment, the exhaustion and stress of the past weeks threatened to overwhelm him. But he quickly steeled himself, knowing that he needed to be strong for both his patients and his family. He called in a favor from a trusted colleague, asking Dr. Sarah to watch over his patients while he rushed home. At home, the scene was heartbreaking. His children, usually so full of life, lay listless in their beds, their faces flushed with fever. Laura, trying to remain composed, was a picture of worry and exhaustion. Dr. Henry's medical training kicked in as he assessed their symptoms and began administering care, his heart breaking at the sight of his loved ones in pain. Balancing his professional and personal responsibilities became a test of his endurance and resolve. He split his time between the hospital and home, ensuring that both his patients and his family received the care they needed. The hospital staff, aware of his struggle, stepped up to support him, their respect for Dr. Henry deepening with each passing day. As the pandemic raged on, Dr. Henry's efforts became a beacon of hope for everyone around him. His ability to navigate this crisis, to find strength in the face of overwhelming odds, inspired his colleagues and brought a sense of solidarity to the hospital. Through sheer determination and the support of his team, he managed to stabilize the situation, saving countless lives in the process. In the end, it wasn't just his medical expertise that made Dr. Henry a hero. It was his relentless dedication to those he cared for, both within the hospital walls and at home. His story became a testament to the power of compassion, resilience, and the unbreakable human spirit. Dr. Henry stood in the middle of the chaotic hospital corridor, the sound of beeping monitors and hurried footsteps all around him. His phone buzzed in his pocket, and he quickly answered, recognizing his wife's number. Laura's voice was trembling. "Henry, the kids are sick. Their fevers are high, and they can barely stay awake. I'm really scared." His heart dropped. The deadly flu had reached his home. His mind raced, torn between the duty to his patients and the need to protect his family. For a moment, the weight of his responsibilities felt unbearable. He looked around at the faces of his colleagues, their eyes filled with exhaustion but also determination. They relied on him, just as his family did. Dr. Henry knew he couldn't abandon the hospital during such a critical time, but he also couldn't ignore the urgent plea from Laura. He took a deep breath and made a decision. "Laura, I'll be there as soon as I can. Hang tight." "Okay, I'll get Dr. Sarah to cover for me." He found Dr. Sarah in the ICU, managing the influx of critical patients. "Sarah, I need a huge favor. My kids are sick. I need to check on them. Can you cover for me?" Sarah saw the worry etched on his face and nodded without hesitation. "Go, Henry. Your family needs you. We've got this." Rushing home, Dr. Henry's mind was a whirlwind of thoughts. He worried about his patients, about the staff coping without him, but most of all, he worried about his children. When he arrived, he found Laura pale and anxious, their two children lying weakly on the couch, their faces flushed with fever. "Daddy's here," he whispered, his voice filled with a mix of professional calm and paternal concern. He quickly assessed their symptoms, administering fever reducers and ensuring they were hydrated. His hands were steady, but his heart ached seeing his kids in such a vulnerable state. He spent hours by their side, monitoring their vitals, comforting them with stories and gentle reassurances. Meanwhile, back at the hospital, Dr. Sarah coordinated the team with precision, inspired by Henry's example. The staff worked tirelessly, their efforts a testament to the leadership and dedication Dr. Henry had instilled in them. Even in his absence, his presence was felt, guiding them through the crisis. After stabilizing his children, Dr. Henry faced another difficult decision. He knew he couldn't stay home indefinitely. His patients needed him too. He called Laura aside. "I have to go back. The hospital is overwhelmed, but I'll come home whenever I can. We'll get through this together." Laura nodded, her eyes filled with understanding and tears. "I know, Henry. We'll be okay. Just come back to us safely." Balancing his duties became a delicate dance. Dr. Henry spent his days at the hospital, fighting the pandemic with every ounce of his being, and his nights at home, caring for his family. The physical and emotional toll was immense, but he drew strength from the love and support surrounding him. At the hospital, his colleagues marveled at his resilience. "How does he do it?" they often whispered. Dr. Sarah, who had become his confidant, explained, "Henry has an incredible heart. He's fighting for his patients and his family. That kind of strength comes from love." The community began to hear about Dr. Henry's efforts, both at the hospital and at home. His story spread, becoming a beacon of hope and inspiration. People sent messages of support, small gestures that meant the world to him during those exhausting days. Dr. Henry's heart-wrenching dilemma showed the depth of his character. He proved that true dedication meant not just excelling in his professional duties, but also being there for his family when they needed him most. His unwavering commitment to both his patients and his loved ones highlighted the extraordinary capacity of the human spirit to endure and overcome even the most daunting challenges. In the end, it was his love for his family and his sense of duty that saw him through. Dr. Henry's journey was a testament to the power of resilience, compassion, and the incredible impact one person can have when they are driven by both professional dedication and personal love. Dr. Henry's life became a delicate balancing act, with each day a test of his limits and resolve. At the hospital, he was the anchor in the storm, guiding his team through the relentless onslaught of flu cases. At home, he was the loving father and husband, tending to his sick children with the same dedication and care. It was a grueling ordeal, but one that showcased his remarkable strength and resilience. Every morning began before dawn. Dr. Henry would check on his children, ensuring their fevers were under control and that they were comfortable. He would then share a quick breakfast with Laura, offering her words of reassurance and gratitude. "We'll get through this, Laura. Just one day at a time," he would say, kissing her on the forehead before heading to the hospital. At the hospital, the situation was critical. The wards were overflowing with patients, and the staff was exhausted. Dr. Henry moved through the chaos with calm determination, his presence a beacon of hope for both patients and colleagues. He led by example, working tirelessly to treat each patient with the utmost care. His ability to remain composed under pressure was a testament to his training and his unwavering commitment to his profession. His days were a blur of activity. He supervised the administration of treatments, adjusted ventilator settings, and made crucial decisions on the fly. He checked in with Dr. Sarah and the rest of the team, ensuring that everyone was supported and that no detail was overlooked. Despite the immense pressure, Dr. Henry found moments to offer a comforting word or a reassuring smile to those around him. His empathy and compassion were as vital to the healing process as any medicine. In the evenings, Dr. Henry would rush home to be with his family. He arrived weary but determined, his focus shifting to the well-being of his children. He would sit by their bedsides, reading stories and holding their hands, his heart aching with both love and worry. Laura, his steadfast partner, provided a steady presence, managing the household and supporting him in every way possible. The weekends offered a brief respite. Dr. Henry used this time to reconnect with his family, savoring the simple joys of being together. They would play board games, watch movies, and enjoy quiet moments in the garden. These times were precious, a reminder of what he was fighting for. They recharged his spirit, giving him the strength to face the challenges of the coming week. Balancing his dual responsibilities required meticulous planning and an unwavering commitment to self-care. Dr. Henry made time for brief moments of reflection and rest, understanding that he needed to maintain his own health to be effective in both roles. He practiced mindfulness, taking deep breaths and centering himself amidst the chaos. These small acts of self-care were crucial, allowing him to stay grounded and focused. His colleagues at the hospital noticed the extraordinary effort he was making. Dr. Sarah often marveled at his resilience. "Henry, you're a wonder," she said one evening. "Balancing the hospital and your family like this? It's incredible." Dr. Henry would smile, his eyes tired but determined. "It's not easy, but we're all in this together. I couldn't do it without all of you." The community also rallied around Dr. Henry's family. Neighbors dropped off meals and offered to run errands, lightening the load on Laura and ensuring that the household ran smoothly. Their acts of kindness and support were a testament to the impact Dr. Henry had on those around him, both as a doctor and as a member of the community. Through sheer determination and the unwavering support of his family and colleagues, Dr. Henry found a way to balance saving lives on both fronts. His journey was a testament to the power of love, resilience, and community. It showed that even in the face of overwhelming challenges, one could find the strength to persevere and succeed. Dr. Henry's ability to navigate this delicate balance inspired everyone around him. He became a symbol of hope and determination, a reminder that even in the darkest times, the human spirit could find a way to shine. His story was not just about overcoming a crisis, but about the incredible capacity for compassion and dedication that exists within us all. The day finally came when the hospital declared the flu pandemic under control. The wards began to clear, and the relentless pace slowed. Dr. Henry, who had been the pillar of strength throughout the crisis, felt a wave of relief wash over him. His colleagues gathered around, their faces showing admiration and gratitude. They had witnessed his tireless dedication, and now it was time to celebrate his extraordinary efforts. The hospital organized a special ceremony to honor Dr. Henry. The staff filled the auditorium, and as he walked in, he was met with thunderous applause. Dr. Sarah took the podium, her voice filled with emotion. "Today, we celebrate a man who has shown us what it truly means to be a hero. Dr. Henry, your dedication and compassion have saved countless lives and inspired us all." Dr. Henry stood humbly as Sarah continued, her words echoing the thoughts of everyone present. "You have been a beacon of hope during one of the darkest times we've faced. Your unwavering commitment to your patients and your family is nothing short of remarkable. We are honored to work alongside you." As Dr. Henry approached the podium to speak, he looked out at the sea of faces, his colleagues, his friends, his extended family. He took a deep breath, his heart full of gratitude. "Thank you all. This has been a journey none of us will ever forget. But I couldn't have done it alone. Every one of you played a crucial role. This victory belongs to all of us." He paused, his voice breaking with emotion. "To my family, who stood by me and gave me strength when I needed it most, Laura, you are my rock. And to my children, thank you for being my inspiration. You reminded me every day why we fight so hard." Tears filled Laura's eyes as she watched her husband speak. The journey had been incredibly tough, but it had brought them closer together. The pride she felt for Henry was overwhelming. Their children, now healthy and smiling, clapped enthusiastically, their faces beaming with admiration for their father. The celebration continued with stories and testimonials from patients whose lives Dr. Henry had touched. Mrs. Thompson, the elderly woman he had treated so meticulously, stood up. "Dr. Henry, you gave me hope when I had none. You are a hero to so many, and I am forever grateful." As the ceremony ended, Dr. Henry was surrounded by his family, friends, and colleagues. The weight of the past months began to lift, replaced by a sense of accomplishment and deep connection. He knew that the road ahead would still have its challenges, but he was ready to face them with the same determination and support that had seen him through the crisis. Back at home, a quieter, more intimate celebration awaited. Laura had prepared a special dinner, and they sat together as a family, enjoying a meal without the looming shadow of illness. The atmosphere was filled with love and laughter, a stark contrast to the tension of the previous months. As the evening drew to a close, Henry took a moment to reflect. The crisis had tested him in ways he had never imagined, but it had also shown him the incredible strength of the human spirit. He had balanced his duties as a doctor and a father, emerging stronger and more connected to those he loved. He tucked his children into bed, their sleepy smiles a reminder of the resilience and joy that had sustained him. He kissed Laura, their bond unshakable after all they had endured. "We did it," he whispered. "We got through it together." Laura smiled, her eyes reflecting the same gratitude and love. "Yes, we did, and we're stronger for it." Dr. Henry's triumph was not just about overcoming a medical crisis. It was about the power of love, dedication, and community. He had been a hero at work and at home, proving that with the right support, anything was possible. His story was a testament to the incredible potential within each of us to rise above adversity and emerge victorious.